When we think about ancient history, our minds usually go to the big conquerors, Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great.
Right, the military guys.
Exactly. But there was this one figure standing right at that crossroads between the ancient world and the rise of Rome.
Cleopatra the 7th.
Cleopatra, she wasn't just some famous queen. She was the last ruler of a dynasty that lasted 300 years.
And her story is really about this incredible clash. You've got this ancient powerhouse, Egypt, with all its wealth and knowledge.
And it's colliding with this new aggressive power.
Rome, which was just determined to control everything. So today we're going to try and get past all the Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, let's look at the facts. Her family, her incredible intelligence, and just how hard she fought to keep her kingdom independent.
It's a story of strategy, really.
Okay, so let's start right there, because I think the first thing that surprises people is that Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian.
Not by blood, no. She was Macedonian Greek. Her family was the Ptolemaic dynasty.
And that started, what, almost 3 centuries before she was even born?
Yeah, with a general named Ptolemy I. He was one of Alexander the Great's most trusted commanders.
So when Alexander died, his empire got carved up.
It did. And Ptolemy just seized Egypt for himself. He set up this Greek-speaking ruling class.
So for 300 years, you have these Greek rulers in Egypt, and they mostly kept to themselves.
For the most part, yeah. They held on to their Macedonian customs, their language, but their capital city, Alexandria, that was something else entirely.
The intellectual capital of the world?
Absolutely. The center of learning, trade, everything. They built the great library there.
And to keep power, they had this practice of marrying within the family.
Right. Intense inbreeding, marrying siblings, cousins. It was all about keeping the bloodline pure and the power locked down.
And Cleopatra was born right into this world, around 69 BC.
The last in that long, complicated line.
But she was different. This is where she really breaks the mold. Unlike her ancestors, she actually, cared about the local culture.
It was a massive political move. For 300 years, the Ptolemies had kept their distance. They spoke Greek. They ruled in Greek.
And then comes Cleopatra.
And she becomes the first ruler in her entire family to learn the native Egyptian language.
That must have been huge for the common people.
It was. And it wasn't just Egyptian. She was clearly a genius. Spent all her time in the Great Library.
She learned, 9 languages? Hebrew, Aramaic?
At least. Her education was all about philosophy, science, and most importantly, rhetoric.
The art of persuasion.
The art of persuasion and effective governing. She was basically training for the political fight of her life. She studied Roman history, Roman military.
She knew who her real competition was.
She did, and she needed that knowledge almost immediately.
Because her father dies, and she's just 18.
Just a teenager. And by tradition, she has to marry her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, and rule with him.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It was. The conflict was instant. But it wasn't just a sibling squabble. It was the advisors, the men around the young king. They saw how smart and ambitious Cleopatra was, and they wanted her out.
So they drove her out of the capital.
Forced her to flee into the desert. But she didn't just give up.
She raised an army.
A private army. But she knew she couldn't win that way alone. She needed a bigger, more powerful ally.
And that ally literally just sails into the harbor.
Julius Caesar. He shows up in Alexandria, chasing a rival, and walks straight into this civil war.
For Caesar, this wasn't about picking a side, was it? It was about resources.
It was all about the grain.
Yeah.
And the gold. Egypt was the breadbasket of the Mediterranean, and Caesar needed to pay his soldiers. A stable Egypt was his top priority.
And this is where we see Cleopatra's genius. She knows her brother's guards control the palace. She can't just walk in for a meeting.
No, she has to get creative.
And this leads to that famous story.
Right. The legend that she was smuggled into the palace.
Rolled up in a carpet or a laundry bag or something.
The details are a bit fuzzy, but the point is the sheer audacity of it, the risk she took.
And Caesar was impressed.
Completely. But not just by her beauty, like the movies suggest. He was blown away by her bravery, her intelligence. She could speak his language, she could debate, she could articulate her political case perfectly.
She framed her cause in a way that aligned with his needs.
Exactly. She showed him that she was the key to a stable Egypt.
So Caesar backs her. His legions help her defeat her brother's forces.
And just like that, she is the undisputed queen of Egypt.
But now she's tied to Rome.
She is. But she immediately gets to work as a very hands-on ruler. She didn't just focus on Rome. She focused on her own people.
She knew where her real power came from.
It came from the Nile. So her government worked nonstop on the irrigation systems to make sure the harvests were huge. And crucially, she reformed the money system.
The coinage, why was that so important?
It stabilized the economy, which was vital for trade. It made Egypt the wealthiest nation in the region. That wealth was her leverage.
She also had this incredible grasp of public relations, of her image.
Oh, absolutely. She presented herself to her people as the living goddess Isis.
And because she spoke their language and respected their customs, they believed it. They were loyal to her.
That loyalty was everything. Her influence then starts to spread. She actually travels to Rome as Caesar's guest.
Imagine that, this powerful foreign queen living in a villa right there in Rome.
The conservative senators were horrified. They were terrified of her influence over Caesar.
And he didn't hide it. He put a golden statue of her in the Temple of Venus.
It was a massive statement. But her real goal was about the future. She wanted to secure a place for her son with Caesar, Caesarion.
To link him to the Roman state.
But Roman politics were, let's say, unstable.
And then Caesar is assassinated in 44 BC.
Everything changes. She has to race back to Egypt, but she can't escape Rome's orbit.
Another civil war breaks out, and the next major Roman figure comes knocking.
Mark Antony. He's one of the three most powerful men in Rome, and like Caesar before him, he needs Egypt.
He needs the money, the food, the ships for his military campaigns.
So they arrange a meeting in Tarsus, and her arrival is pure theater. She sails in on this magnificent barge dressed as the goddess Venus.
But again, it wasn't just about the show.
No. Antony was impressed by the spectacle, sure, but he was really impressed by her mind, her wit, and the incredible resources she commanded. She was a necessary political partner.
Their alliance was both political and romantic. They had 3 children together.
And Antony started spending a lot of time in Alexandria, living more like an Eastern king than a Roman general.
Which made Cleopatra even more powerful. She regained old territories that had belonged to her ancestors.
But this behavior, it gave his enemies in Rome the perfect weapon against him.
And his main rival was Octavian, Caesar's adopted son.
Octavian was a master of propaganda, a master of spin.
And he used Cleopatra to destroy Antony's reputation. How did he do that?
He didn't just attack Antony as a political rival. He painted a picture of him being under the spell of this dangerous, decadent foreign queen.
Right. He framed it as Antony abandoning Roman values for Eastern luxury.
It was brilliant, and it was devastating. He made it about protecting Roman civilization itself.
So the Roman Senate declares war, but not on Antony.
No, they declare war directly on Cleopatra. They made her the enemy of Rome.
And so the final confrontation is set.
It all comes down to a massive naval battle off the coast of Greece in 31 BC, the Battle of Actium.
Cleopatra is there in person, commanding her own fleet.
Yes, huge, powerful Egyptian warships. But Octavian's general, Agrippa, had a different strategy.
Smaller, faster ships.
Much more maneuverable. And during the battle, they started to break through the slower, heavier Egyptian lines.
And this is a point of huge historical debate. What happened next?
Well, seeing the way the battle was turning, Cleopatra and her squadron broke through the line and retreated, sailing for Egypt. And Antony followed her.
Leaving his army and the rest of his fleet behind.
Exactly. Was it a pre-planned escape to save themselves and the treasury? Or was it desertion? We don't know for sure.
But the result was the same. A catastrophic defeat.
Their dream of an Eastern empire was shattered. Octavian was now the undisputed ruler of the Roman world, and he was marching on Alexandria.
The end came quickly after that.
Very quickly. Antony got false news that Cleopatra was dead, and he took his own life.
And Cleopatra?
She locked herself in her massive tomb with all her treasures. She tried to negotiate with Octavian.
But she realized what he really wanted.
He wanted to parade her through Rome in chains, the ultimate symbol of his victory, the humiliation of the last great Eastern ruler.
And she would not allow that to happen.
She wouldn't. So she chose to die on her own terms.
How she died is also a bit of a mystery, right? The famous story is the snake.
The asp, yes. That's
Wow.
the most famous version. But other ancient sources mention a fast-acting poison, maybe hidden in a comb or applied as an ointment.
Regardless of the method, she controlled her own fate to the very end.
She did. She died with her most loyal servants. And Octavian, respecting her final wish, had her buried beside Mark Antony.
Her death meant the end of her dynasty and the end of an entire era. Egypt officially became a Roman province.
The end of the Hellenistic period, the final victory of Rome over the Greek world that Alexander had created.
So when we look back, her story really shows us how far political skill and, raw intellect can go against overwhelming military force.
She held them off for decades. She was the last of the pharaohs, and her legacy isn't really about winning the final war. It's about how brilliantly she played the game for as long as she did.
She remains this powerful symbol of intellect and resistance against impossible odds.
Absolutely, she'll never be forgotten.
Good luck with your studies.